Imagine ordering what you think is a simple painkiller, something to ease a headache or backache, only to receive a pill so potent it could kill you. Now imagine that pill arriving at your doorstep, delivered through a system that looks and feels as smooth as a rideshare app. That's the chilling reality behind the case of Mirela Todorova, a woman who built a digital empire that turned deadly. Her operation blurred the line between the tech world and organized crime, combining encryption, online orders, and modern logistics to distribute some of the world's most dangerous drugs. This is the story of how she built her empire, how it crumbled, and what it says about the future of drug trafficking in the digital age. When people think of drug trafficking, they often picture dark alleys, coded slang, and street deals. Todorova's network shattered that image. She replaced it with encrypted chats, smartphone apps, and GPS-coordinated deliveries. Using encrypted messaging platforms, she created a system that worked like a legitimate delivery business. Customers ordered through direct messages, often to usernames like Mimi Snowy, Snow, or Ice Queen. They paid through mobile apps or cash. Drivers received assignments and locations digitally, complete with drop-off instructions. Todorova managed every moving piece. She provided drivers with work phones, guided them remotely, and organized deliveries from hidden stash houses. Her approach let her avoid face-to-face contact with customers and gave the illusion of professionalism, almost like she was running a boutique service instead of a drug ring. It was efficient, discreet, and built to hide her involvement. On the surface, it was innovation. Underneath, it was lethal. The operation's main product was counterfeit oxycodone small blue tablets, stamped to look exactly like prescription painkillers. In reality, they were laced with fentanyl, a synthetic opioid up to 50 times stronger than heroin. Each pill contained an unpredictable dose. One might give a mild high. The next could stop breathing within minutes. Because fentanyl has no taste or smell, users had no way to tell. For people struggling with pain or addiction, these pills were appealing. They looked legitimate and promised a familiar relief. Todorova's customers weren't hardened criminals. Many were young professionals, artists, or people chasing an escape from anxiety or physical pain. What they got instead was a chemical weapon disguised as medicine. Todorova knew the risks. Customers had complained that her pills felt stronger than usual. Some reported overdoses, but she continued to sell, knowing that demand would keep money flowing. Ray Mascolo was 37 years old, living in Beverly Hills. He was the son of Bruno Mascolo, co-founder of the Toni and Guy and Bedhead hair care brands, a family known for its success in the beauty industry. Ray himself was described by friends as kind, curious, and funny, with a love of art, travel, and fitness. But like many in Los Angeles, he also faced the pressures of fast living. He occasionally used prescription pills to manage stress and chronic pain. On a November night in 2020, he ordered what he thought were oxycodone tablets from an online contact named Mimi Snowy. That contact was linked to Mirela Todorova's network. Her driver that night, an actor named Kather Sei, was assigned to make the delivery. The exchange appeared harmless, just another late-night drop-off in Beverly Hills. Ray took one of the pills, expecting the mild calm of oxycodone. Instead, within hours, he was unalived. His friends found him unresponsive, and paramedics couldn't revive him. The toxicology report confirmed fentanyl poisoning. It wasn't a mild overdose, it was instant, overwhelming, and fatal. The death devastated his family and shocked investigators. Ray wasn't a habitual drug abuser. He was a man who thought he was taking a painkiller, not gambling with his life. Law enforcement traced the last messages on Ray's phone to Mimi Snowy. From there, they followed the digital trail and uncovered Todorova's entire system. What began as one overdose quickly became a window into a citywide operation that had likely caused multiple overdoses. Ray's unaliving wasn't just tragic. It became the turning point that exposed a hidden empire. Kather Sei was a rising actor and model, known around Los Angeles for his energy and charm. He appeared in small television roles and commercials, balancing acting with part-time jobs to stay afloat in a competitive industry. Behind the scenes, though, he had fallen into financial trouble. That's when he met Todorova. She offered him steady money as a driver, someone who would pick up and drop off small packages. She described it as safe, quick, and easy. At first, Sei believed it was a low-risk hustle, but it wasn't long before he realized the packages weren't harmless. They contained narcotics like cocaine, ecstasy, and most often fake oxycodone pills laced with fentanyl. Still, he stayed. The money was fast, and Todorova had a way of keeping people loyal. She promised protection and stability, assuring her drivers that the pills were clean. She often gave Sei detailed instructions, what to say, when to deliver, and how to calm nervous clients. Text messages later revealed Todorova's control. She tracked his movements, approved drop-offs, and managed his pay. When customers complained or overdosed, she told Sei how to handle it, usually by deflecting blame. Sei delivered the pills to Ray the night he unalived. He couldn't have known that those few tablets would lead to his own downfall. Months later, as the investigation deepened, Sei's name surfaced repeatedly in connection with deliveries linked to overdoses. But before the case reached trial, tragedy struck again. Kather Sei was found dead from a fentanyl overdose, the very substance he'd been delivering. It's unclear whether his death was accidental or the result of his own growing addiction. Friends said he had been struggling emotionally, burdened by guilt and fear as investigators closed in. His unaliving highlighted the cruel symmetry of Todorova's network. It consumed everyone it touched, customers, dealers, and couriers alike. When investigators pieced together the evidence, one thing became clear. Todorova was not a bystander. She was in control. She didn't drive the cars or make the deliveries, but every step in the process led back to her. She supplied the drugs, trained the drivers, managed communication, and controlled the money. Her messages showed meticulous coordination, from packaging instructions to warnings about police activity. She operated her ring like a remote manager, giving orders from behind screens. Even when she traveled outside the country, she stayed connected through encrypted apps and cloud backups. In one conversation, she reassured a driver that everything's clean, despite knowing that multiple overdoses had already occurred. In another, she instructed her team to delete messages and wipe devices. By the time investigators reached her, Todorova had tried to cover her tracks. But digital evidence doesn't vanish so easily. Every deleted message left a trace, and every trace pointed to her. Ray unaliving was only the beginning. After his overdose in 2020, investigators linked several other fentanyl poisonings to the same drug source. Some victims were ordinary buyers, people who thought they were taking legitimate pills to ease pain, anxiety, or insomnia. Others were recreational users. What they all had in common was that their supply came through Todorova's network. In the months that followed, there were at least 3 additional non-fatal overdoses tied to her pills. Each survivor described the same thing: one pill that felt off, an overwhelming wave of dizziness, and the sudden inability to breathe. And then came the cruel twist. Kather Sei, the driver who had once delivered death to others, became its next victim. Friends said he had grown paranoid and anxious after Ray Mascolo's unalived. He was aware that federal agents were closing in, and some said he felt haunted by guilt. He began using the same drugs he had once delivered, maybe to cope with the stress or numb the fear. One night, alone, he took a pill from the same supply chain. Hours later, he was unalived. His unaliving shocked investigators and drove home the brutal truth. In the fentanyl crisis, there are no winners. Dealers, users, and everyone in between are playing with the same loaded weapon. The overdose deaths tied to Todorova's ring weren't isolated. They were connected by one system and one decision-maker. The unraveling of Todorova's empire began with a phone. When detectives recovered Ray Mascolo's phone, they found messages to Mimi Snowy, confirming the purchase of oxycodone pills shortly before his unaliving. That digital thread was the spark. Investigators from the DEA, LAPD, and federal task forces joined forces to trace the network. They subpoenaed cloud backups, decrypted messaging data, and cross-referenced financial transactions from payment apps. Each discovery led to another piece of the puzzle: phone numbers, aliases, driver instructions, and delivery routes. When they executed search warrants on Todorova's home, they found narcotics, scales, packaging materials, and nearly $500,000 in cash. Even more damning were the messages on her devices. She had documented her own business in text form, driver schedules, customer lists, and even conversations about overdose victims. Digital forensics turned out to be the key weapon against her. Every command, every deleted chat, every instruction formed a chain of accountability that no lawyer could explain away. The investigation that started with a single overdose expanded into a full-scale takedown of a digital drug ring, one that had operated for years right under Los Angeles' nose. In 2025, Todorova went to trial in federal court, facing a long list of charges: conspiracy to distribute controlled substances resulting in death, distribution of fentanyl, and possession with intent to distribute methamphetamine, cocaine, and MDMA. The trial lasted 9 days and relied heavily on digital evidence. Jurors saw text chains where Todorova instructed drivers to make deliveries, coached them on avoiding police, and dismissed reports of overdoses as bad reaction. Prosecutors argued that Todorova knew exactly what she was selling. She was warned that her pills contained fentanyl, and she ignored the risks because business was booming. They described her as calculating, controlling, and motivated by greed. Her defense team tried to shift blame, suggesting that others, including Kather Sei, acted independently or misused the drugs. But the jury didn't buy it. The paper trail, the messages, and the pattern of deaths painted a clear picture. Todorova was the architect. After less than 2 days of deliberation, the jury found her guilty on all major counts. Todorova now faces a mandatory minimum sentence of 20 years, with the possibility of life in federal prison. She was also ordered to forfeit nearly $500,000 in profits from her illegal operation. The verdict sent a clear message: technology may change how crime is committed, but it doesn't erase responsibility. This case isn't just about one woman or one group of victims, it's a reflection of our times. Technology and anonymity have changed how drugs move through communities. Apps once built for convenience have become tools for concealment. Trust has become a weapon. Customers like Ray Mascolo weren't looking for a thrill. They thought they were taking something familiar and safe. The deception turned fatal. Vulnerability cuts both ways. The same poison that took Ray's life also ended Kather Sei's. In Todorova's world, even the sellers weren't immune. Accountability in the digital age has evolved. Law enforcement had to think like hackers and investigators at once, following messages, payments, and GPS trails. It's a sign of how policing must adapt to catch those who hide behind screens. And finally, the human cost. Fentanyl isn't just a statistic. It's a mother's phone call in the middle of the night. It's a family losing a son. It's a young actor dying alone. This case forces us to ask hard questions about personal choice, technological misuse, and the real meaning of accountability. The case of Mirela Todorova shows how easily convenience can turn into catastrophe. She built a delivery system that looked clean, organized, and efficient, but it sold death in small blue pills. Ray Mascolo trusted that what he bought was safe. Kather Sei believed he was just making deliveries. Both men ended up dead, victims of the same network, the same substance, and the same deception. Todorova's conviction in 2025 closed the legal chapter, but the moral one continues. Her story is a warning of how greed, technology, and denial can combine to devastating effect. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, and click the notification bell to stay updated on future true crime stories.